All right, welcome to another live with TruckMountForums, TMF basically. We've had that acronym since the beginning or the inception of TruckMountForums, TMF, and it's a well-known acronym throughout the industry. And we worked hard to build up a reputation of bringing everybody knowledge, information through our forum, through our Facebook, through our YouTube, through our Instagram, our TikTok, through our TMF shop, through our school, and through our supply company. We've tried to cover the whole gamut. That way people could learn. And we all know the more you learn, the more you earn. And we also operate on the law of reciprocity. We believe we help you become successful, you help us become successful. And we're living proof of that. And last week we talked about acids and some of the an acid dam its floor and how it could be corrected. But what we're going to do today is take it a step further. We're going to talk acids. We're going to break down each acid so you'll know when to use it, when not to use it, when it's dangerous, when it's not dangerous, how to fix something, and break it all down for you so you can understand it more clearly. So I'm going to bring Mark in here. If you can hear me well, please come in here and let me know. We'd like to start somewhere around the 2-minute mark. Remember, this will be loaded up to YouTube. It'll be loaded up to Instagram. It'll also be loaded up to, give me a second, for our podcast. Let's see, our podcast. I can't think of the name of our podcast, the podcasting hosting company. It just slips me. Old age.
Restream.
Spotify.
Oh, Spotify.
Yeah, this will be up on Spotify. Okay, I'm going to bring Mark in here now. Hello, Mark. Well, we don't see Mark. All we see is a microphone and a computer. The back of a computer looks like, and a fan. Mark, is that your greatest fan there?
My greatest what? Who's my greatest?
Your greatest fan? Right behind you, the white fan. Is that your greatest fan?
Oh no, that's my.
Where's your wife, your greatest fan?
I'll have to ask her. Depends on what
Sean
I did.
says loud and clear. Look, guys, if you guys remember after we talk, and even while we're talking, if you want to ask any questions, even if it's not related to this, put it up here. I'll go back to it. But remember, after we talk for a little bit, Mark and I will do an AMA. Ask us anything. We'll break it down for you. Thank you, Sean, for letting us know that. I appreciate that. Looks like Sean's coming in from YouTube. All right, Mark, I'm going to bring in this first floor, okay?
All right.
We'll take a look at this. This is a floor that Mark ran into. And you want to tell us what happened, Mark, and what kind of acid might have caused that problem?
I actually didn't run into that. One of the customers, someone posted actually on TMF and said, guys, what do I do? It looks like wood at first. I go, and most people chimed in and said, oh, it looks like the wax or the coating was affected by chemicals and now it's got to be stripped and redone. He said, no, this is porcelain. If you zoom in there, you can actually see that is porcelain tile plank that looks like wood.
Right.
So can people coat it with wax and have that same effect? Yeah. But in this case, there were no coatings because I asked them, are there coatings on there? So by eliminating what you're seeing, by doing those inspections, you say, well, there's no coating on here. So why does it look like a coating has been disrupted or polluted or corrupted? And turns out they had rust on the floor and they were using a rust remover, which is an acid, one of the tools in our toolbox.
And there's two different types of acids used for rust remover. Did he tell you which one it was, Mark?
He didn't, or brand or whatever. And it really wasn't important.
But it'll still give you the same result, either acid, correct?
It can. And in this case, this particular glaze on this tile was affected by whatever acid it was. But there was another circumstance that made this difficult or the damage occur. And that was he put it on liberally. As you can see, it's got nice dribble marks and it's not very surgical. And he left it because if you let it dwell, doesn't it do better? You let your chemicals dwell so that it eats into the stain or the spots or the residue. In this case, he just left it and forgot about it. Most rust removers will work very quickly. The moment I drip acid in a carpet, it just disappears, usually.
And Mark, you know, and I've also used it on ceramic before, but I used it right away, rinsed it right away, and I surgically used it. Like you said, I used it right on the spot itself. No problems. Worked out great.
If you use a Q-tip and put it on, you're just trying to remove acid. If there's no rust, I'm sorry, you're trying to remove rust. If there's no rust all over the tile, why did you dribble a huge puddle?
Yeah.
because we hope there's no collateral damage. Well, if you do micro testing, I cannot emphasize the word micro test in every aspect. If you're trying to solve a problem, you have what you think is going to work. Don't gush it and do a whole 10 by 10 room.
Yeah. Yeah. Refresh some of the memory or some of the people that are in right now what a micro test is again, just
So
briefly.
just what it says, you're doing a test because you don't know what the best approach is going to be. Chemicals, technique, temperature, is it solvent? Is it going to be high pH, low pH? You don't know what's going to take the spot out. You're trying to identify, is it oil, grease, ink, adhesives? Your experience will tell you what it probably is, but until you
Right.
test it, you don't know what's going to remove it or fix it. So in the case of rust, you have your favorite rust remover.
When you say a micro test, Mark, generally how small is a micro test?
As small as you have the tools to deliver. If you have a tiny pin needle applicator of the chemical you're testing, in this case an acid, and you drip one solitary drip on the floor and the acid dissolves instantly, then you know, yep, this acid's going to work. But before you go on and treat the whole spot, what should you also do? Wait till it dries and see if there are or is collateral damage. In this case, this collateral damage is that white milky look.
And preferably in an inconspicuous area.
Well,
Unless you're dealing with the exact problem, correct?
yeah, you don't know. I mean, it's nice to know that you didn't damage the tile by going in a corner. But if you're using a Q-tip size testing tool and you dab that rust and it removes, but then when it dries, it left a white spot, you left a damaged white spot. So yeah, maybe if you're worried about this same problem happening to you, go in the pantry, do a dab of the acid, let it sit there, rub it a little, and then microfiber rinse it, and then blow on it, and then get your camera in there with a light, carry a LED light, and see if you frosted it. I call this frosting. It's like etching a marble, only you
And so
frosted it.
that little pin drop will be a whole lot less than what this guy did here because he's got other pictures. He did more damage. We just show him one picture.
Yeah, his tech
So he did multiple damages.
Yeah.
One little pin drop, customer's not going to care, or you
if
can cover it up.
If this were a carpet, you'd get rid of the rust. You'd get more than you needed on the carpet. You'd rinse it away with your wand, with your extractor, with your upholstery tool, and you've no harm, no foul. The problem is if there's collateral damage. If your acid, let me give you another example. A rust remover on a nylon carpet. If you spill hydrochloric acid on nylon, does anyone know what happens to hydrochloric acid on nylon? It melts, it dissolves before your very eyes.
That's why we make a polyester tester, Mark, based on that.
Exactly. It's a test.
That's how we test it. Yep.
You test it by burning it or not burning it.
Because polyester carpets have an affinity for oil. So if you can recognize which one it is, you can go a little stronger with the mixture ratio to go ahead and get those oils released.
Water float test, all that. So if you're going to use hydrochloric, which by the way, hydrochloric and muriatic.
Well, Mark, listen, Mark, let's not delve into too much until we move over to the list. We'll break the list down. How about that? But anyway, what was the resolution on this particular floor before I move on? We have a list, everybody, of all the different acids that we use in our industry. Mark's going to break them down. Both of us are, and we'll help you. But go ahead, Mark.
So the fix for this is twofold. There's always multiple fixes. Two fixes. One is going to be a Band-Aid, kind of a temporary, kind of a, hey, the house is empty. They're trying to sell it. They don't want to spend any more money on it. We don't know how this damage occurred. In this case, it was his own tech that did it. So it's on him to fix it.
Sure is.
But he could have walked into the house and he just walks into that. Oh, it looks like paint. We'll get that off in a jiff. No, he won't, because it ain't paint. It's etch. It's damage to the glaze. So you can put a Band-Aid on it. What would the Band-Aid be? Well, put water on it, right? Water's going to make it disappear. He said, yeah, when it's wet, it's gone.
A coating.
Right.
A coating would solve it.
Yeah, a coating could solve it. So if we used an enhancing sealer, solvent-based, and the solvent were to kind of dry and leave a resin, and the resin will darken and keep it gone, that's a fix. But if you wipe it, you know what else will fix it? Bacon grease. I know I'm being silly. Bacon grease will make it go away. like, because bacon grease don't evaporate and dry off like water will.
Lemon pledge will make it go away.
Yeah, or candle wax smeared in and use the acetone thin down. But
Right.
it's really not the right thing to do. But
Of
he was at a
course.
point where it is an empty house. It's up for sale, and it's not my way of doing business. I want to fix
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And especially if it was me that did it. Now, if it's someone else that did it, I will fix it and I will charge. Since he did it, he had to fix it on his dime, meaning he's not going to make any money fixing. But his tech needs to learn, don't ever do this again. You could have cost me a fortune in repair. Because the homeowner saw me do it right in front of them and they're living there. I can't walk away and say, I don't know what happened. So
Stuck,
what kind of professional are we? Are we going to fix it? Or are we going to hope nobody notices? So the Band-Aid, here's the second approach. You got extra tiles. What do? We jack that whole tile. Any affected tiles are jacked out and replace it. Now, we're not tile installers, but I became one because
I've done it. You know, just get in there with the little, get in there and take the grout lines out, pull that bad boy out of there. It's a pain in the butt, but it's effective.
Hammer. Yeah, it's extra work. But
the problem is, Mark, most people do not have extra pieces. That's the problem.
Majority of people, they throw them away, or when the house is up for sale, they go, what's all this crap? Throw it away. We'll never need that again. Dudes, nobody should throw away leftover carpet, wood, flooring of any kind.
It should be a crime, Mark, that people don't keep extra carpet, extra tile, extra pieces of wood.
It's insurance.
It should be in the psyche of every homeowner. But sadly, it's not. Okay, Mark, tell them the permanent fix besides that then.
So the permanent other fix is to take what I call a diamond abrasive rubber wheel. And we're gonna hone. You can use a honing powder if you're good at it. If you've got the right grit, you're gonna hone. You don't want to hone it down because you don't want to dull the surrounding healthy sheen around it. You want to just knock down the frosting. You're trying to lick off this frosting, and that is to level it out and make it look deep, rich, or the color below it. Now, if the glaze was superficially thin on the surface is a photorealistic pattern that was either AI generated or silkscreen pattern or digitally reproduced. We all know about tiles, how they have.
Are you worried you're going to dig into that?
That's right. The base below. So I usually like to go figure out, and again, micro test. So if I'm going to approach this problem using a micro test of my polishing method, using an abrasive rubber wheel. Dentists use them when they're doing dentures or when they're trying to polish the surface of a tooth that's stained or ridged. They can use these abrasive wheels. All just like in diamond honing of floors, you have all different grits, and each of those grits has a value, and it's going to remove more or less.
Okay, Mark. So that fixed it. We're going to get to the list. So you tell me that. Did he do that? Did it fix it?
He hasn't gotten back to me yet. This just happened a couple of days ago, and I'll.
But that's how you would. But that's how you would have done it.
That's how I would have done it. And if it didn't work, I'd have to pull back, look in the garage. Nope, no tiles. So there's no recourse there, and I would unfortunately have to resort to that nasty Band-Aid approach because it's all you have left. If you can't polish it out, if you can't go get a new tile and replace it and do it right, you're going to do it barely right. You're just going to put the Band-Aid on there.
Could you get one of those? I mean, we're working on a permanent coating. Could you put the permanent coating on there?
You could, if the sheen of the coating matched the other one. And if that coating was an enhancing property. Some coatings do not enhance. They do not create a richness. And so you'll, again, micro test. Put it on as a dab, let it dry. You go, bingo. And look at the sheen. Does it look really glossy compared to the tile around it?
And as long as it's close, the naked eye probably is going to pick it up.
If it's close, they'll sell the house. No one will see it. In 10 years, they're going to tread it off, and they're going to, this keeps turning lighter and lighter. And, we are not the creator. We can't create. Recreate something. We can't refire it in a kiln. We can't go back to the factory that made this and say, do you happen to have a couple spares we can beg, borrow, and buy? They could be long gone. After 4 months, nothing exists that you have.
That's a fact. It just keeps on changing. And that's on purpose. It's planned obsolescence, but we won't go there. So, Mark, here's the list of all the different acids that we've handwritten up and kind of go through our industry. Before we do that, I kind of want to mention Everclean coming here. I'm going to look down here. He said, how do you guys go about with long-term chemical usage without having harm to yourself, such as bad for the lungs over time? Now, I don't want to break that down. We'll save that for afterwards, but that's an excellent question. So
Yeah,
we'll come back and address that. What's
yeah,
that?
long-term exposure is everyone's concern.
Yeah,
But
because it's not
the body
always.
is the body's pretty durable. It can get rid of a lot of things and toxins. It can't get rid of mercury. It can't get rid of lead. It
Right.
can't get rid of aspartame in the brain cells. So guess
It
what,
also
guys?
can't. It also can't get rid of nanoparticles, and it can't get rid of graphene oxide,
That's right.
which
But
is
we're not,
which is being going into a lot of foods. And some people say it's in the air and chemtrails. Can I say it is? Can I say it's not? Something looks like it's
it's
going
just
on. Was
let's
going on
not
20
be
years ago.
dunderheads and just believe everything's fine and no one's going to hurt us. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, but listen, Mark.
Remember,
and Mark,
tobacco
here's
is
my
okay
concept. Mark, here's my perspective on it. If they'll spray your crops with glyphosate to make you sick, you don't tell me they won't go up a few thousand feet and spray us to make us sick.
Yeah.
It's profitable. It's billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. And
But
again, I want to say it. I say this in many of these episodes. It takes 11 days count to a million. It takes 32 years count to a billion. It takes 32,000 years count to a trillion. Somebody like BlackRock has $25 trillion in the bank. Just think about that for a little while. Anyway, back to it. And they own all these things. So
you're just
medical,
a conspiracy theorist, though.
Well, that's not conspiracy theorist. That's just a term made up by the CIA to keep people like us to shut up. You know what I mean? Speaking of, have you ever heard April Fools? Of course, right?
Well, it's a holiday or something. It's a
well,
one-time a year.
well, how did April Fools get a start? Then we're going to go through this list. Let's test Mark's knowledge on history. How did April Fools get a start? Would you like to know?
Let's take a vote. Who wants to know?
I'm asking you.
I guess.
All right, listen to this. Pope Gregory, I think in the 1500s, he moved the new year from April 1st, which is what it should be, to January 1st. And then to shut people up, anybody who tried to use April 1st, they called them fools. And that's how you get April Fools.
Oh.
Because really, if you think about it, April 1st is when it's the regeneration of,
the seasons, the holiday,
exactly.
Yeah.
Everything come back to life and stuff like that. So we've been hijacked, just like they hijacked the calendar. It used to be 28 days. Was it the Roman calendar or the Judean calendar that had 28 days in it? It's perfect. It worked just perfect with the cycles. But anyway, I digress. We're going to move back to acids, but I thought that was interesting because I'm a big fan of history, about history buff. I love history, love religion, love documentaries. Don't really watch TV anymore. Don't really listen to music anymore. Don't party anymore. Just study and learn. Love it. All right, Mark, let's start off with the acids there. Let's start off with the first one.
Well, so phosphoric is, and again, these are metallic salts. I'm not a chemist, but in time you learn stuff, and if you don't learn stuff, you really aren't. You're not improving yourself. So
True.
Phosphoric acid is common. It's in CLR. It's in Lime-Away. It's in a lot of products that are used to descale.
It's in a lot of acid. It's in a lot of acid rinses.
Exactly. It's a component. It's readily soluble.
Yep.
And so it doesn't
Mark,
have...
as an acid rinse, people have asked me, as an acid rinse, if it's diluted down, what is it, 320 to 1 or something like that when you're working with acid rinses, will that harm a stone floor? Is it strong enough or is it diluted?
Yeah. It is relative to the sensitivity of the stone, and not all stone has the same degree of dissolvability under an acid. So look at a marble that has matrix in it. Matrix is that swirly different colors, all the travertine, limestone, onyx. Those colors are there because there's different types of minerals mixed with that calcium carbonate. There's different families of calcium that are bonded together that under heat and pressure become this beautiful stuff we love to put into our cathedrals and our buildings and our floors, and just gorgeous, beautiful nature created all this beauty.
And Mark,
it is sensitive.
Cathedrals were really from cathodes. They used the ether and they powered different machines that could fly back in the day. But you didn't hear that from me because I ain't one to talk.
Oh, wow. Hey, you guys are getting extra value here to this bizarre.
Oh, Lord.
What's that?
Hey, if you ever heard of Tataria, if you haven't, look up Tataria. All right, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. I think. What do you have in that brew? Anything?
It's just Saratoga water.
I was thinking there's some alcohol in there.
Nah. I rarely ever drink anymore. I probably drink a few beers a year now. That's it. Okay, so go ahead, Mark. The phosphorus, it is used in a lot of acid rinses. You're
The
saying that.
acid rinse is left on.
So
It
that's why I
diluted.
always say use alkaline rinse if you're going to use any type of rinse when you're cleaning stone and tile. It's just that simple. You're going to get a little cleaner. It's going to strip it better. It's just better all the way around. When I say
And
strip, it's not going to strip off it's not going to strip off your glaze and nothing like that. And it's
right.
not
And
going to
what
do any acid
exactly
etching.
what pH is marble, travertine, onyx, and limestone, and grout? It's high pH. It's alkaline. So if we put a mild acid rinse, we're trying to neutralize the pH of the higher pH using the acid. But if we can't control, if you put down an acid rinse and it dribbles across the floor because you're using it in a hydroforce or an electric sprayer and it's dribbling and you don't see it, it looks like harmless water because there's no color to acid in solution. So when it sits there, it actually gets evaporating. What happens when an acid that's diluted highly gets evaporated? It becomes strong and stronger and stronger. So
Yeah,
you
that's all.
can't just thinking it's fine because you diluted it. Well, while it sat there evaporating, it became strong again. So I just don't like acids. They have a place in urine decontamination, urine treatment.
When the guy sent me the picture or talked to me earlier today, that's why we brought this conversation up. I said, why did you go to acid first? Acid should be a last resort, wouldn't you say?
for
Most cases?
tackling what?
I'd say just for most cases, if you're trying to
Yeah, but
clean grout lines and stuff like that.
okay, yeah. I never use acid because in order, and this is my soapbox again, guys, if you put acid, it's been used for decades successfully to get stained grout more uniform, whiter, cleaner looking. Why? Because it is dissolving the cementitious material between grits of sand that make up they're the bricks in the grout, and it eats it up so that the stained grout is gone. You're not cleaning the stain out of the grout. You are killing or dissolving the grout to remove the stained grout.
Yeah, you're removing the
Do that.
grout.
Do that
And
7,
if
8,
you leave
9
too much on
times.
there for a long time, I've seen dips. You'll
Well,
damage it.
it's the repetition that does that. If you leave it on, acid becomes neutralized by the presence of an alkaline. Back
Over
to the
time.
volcano and baking soda in science fair in grade school. You had vinegar and you had baking soda. You put baking soda in the little film can in the paper mache volcano, and you poured a little cup of vinegar. And what did it do? Oh, you put
Boom.
food coloring. I forgot that. You need some orange and yellow food coloring. And when you put it in there, it erupts and all this lava flows out down the volcano because acid is reacting in the vinegar to the baking soda, alkaline, and they erupt. And that's what's happening when we spill acid on a calcified calcium stone, marble, onyx, travertine, limestone, and grout. You are making it fizzle and sizzle. People think, oh, fizzling, that means it's working. Yeah, it's working. It's destroying grout to get rid of this ugly, nasty stain that's in the grout so that customers think I did a miracle here. And that's why I'm a proponent of Color Seal. If you keep dissolving stains in grout over and over, you'll have no grout. Like a Target store I went to looking for a good opportunity to film a restoration job. I was going to do their whole entryway for free. There was no grout. I said, wow, did they just lay this tile yesterday and they're going to grout today? He
That's
said,
horrible.
no, we just use a real strong cleaner. He didn't even say acid, but I knew what he was using.
Wow.
And once a year we re-grout. I go, what? What a weird way to maintain a grout.
Man, I would have loved to seen that.
But we are doing that every time we use an acid to clean. We are opening up the pores, making the soft material decompose and wash away to leave a craggier, bumpier, sandier surface that now is even harder for Mrs. Jones to clean.
Yeah.
She's going to see dirt trap even more. Well, I'm going to seal it before I leave. Well, what are you going to seal it?
That's kind of like when people say, you know what, the carpets got dirtier faster after the people left. Because they left a bunch of material inside. I know it's a different concept, but in other words, it still gets sold faster. But my whole point is our job is to get in there, make it clean, make it bright, and stay clean as long as possible. That's the real goal. So that's working against the goal.
That's the value you bring to the customer.
Yes.
So they keep calling you. They're not going to call you if all of a sudden you kind of burned their bridge or made a problem even worse. So each of those acids have different values, different properties. Some are so much stronger than others because of the complexity of their chemistry.
Well, let's go on to the next one. Well, that brings us to sulfuric, which is basically
Well,
muriatic,
and
right?
let's stay at phosphoric a minute. When you're doing a pre-inspection, why do you do a pre-inspection? You want to find all the problems with the floor. If you have the toilet bowl and you see dribbles out in the front and the side of the toilet, does that
You
mean
know it.
Mr. Jones's urine is pretty dang potent and it's just burning that marble? No, it's somebody,
That paints
Molly
a
Maid,
picture.
they hire the maid to go clean the potty. She squirts in her toilet bowl cleaner, the clingy stuff, Clorox. What is it? You know, it's an upside down squirt, and you squeeze it under the rim, and
Yes.
it's blue,
Hmm.
and well, it's full of acid, okay, and she
Right.
gets a little squirted above, and it drips down the side, or she lays her bottle down on the floor next to the toilet, and it has what on the sides running down? Oh, I don't know, some of that same juice, and she burns a ring the shape of the bottom of the bottle right there next to the toilet.
See it all the
So
time. Yep.
see it
Sad,
all the
sad.
time. Molly Maid uses Windex with vinegar, and she
Mm.
used what Grandma used for decades, and that's vinegar and newspaper to clean the mirrors and the windows and the glass, because it cuts down the hard water deposits on the shower or the splashes from your hands onto the mirror behind the faucet. So yeah, it works. But if her countertops are made of onyx, travertine, or marble, all of those areas where she's been year after year, week after week, spraying her acid are now dull and etched.
Yeah.
And it's because she ate them. She dissolved them with her acid. So do your pre-inspection so you know what is the problem. Be the hero. Show the customer, help her know that she needs to train her house cleaner lady not
Yes.
to bring in the wrong stuff. Some people have
Hmm.
said, that's it. I'm not, because I had to, who was I going to charge for this restoration? The maid who cleaned and did the damage?
What do you can't
Prove
get
it.
blood out of a turnip? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
blood out of a turnip. We've been doing it this way for years and haven't had a problem. Well, then no one caught you, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
because you've been doing it for years and no one called you out on it doesn't mean you're still doing the right thing. So I train the customer to then train the lady. Let's say you leave your garbage in your van or your car. I am going to give you all the cleaning supplies I want you to use. She's the boss. She should
Then
set
Mark, where would sulfuric and muriatic acid be mostly used?
well, muriatic or sulfuric could be a component of some of these CLR limonite in a percentage, but we don't know. I mean, if you read the bottle, it'll say acid. It won't say what kind sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Well, you can go right to Home Depot and buy muriatic acid.
yeah, muriatic is the pool acid. It buffers the pool to reverse the alkalinity building up in your pool. And if you have too much acid, because you live in Washington, Oregon, where the water is not alkaline, it's acidic, then the acid content builds. You got to put sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. So you
Basically, yeah.
actually put alkaline powder in your pool to get the chemistry right, or the chlorine won't stay in suspension. It won't do what it's designed to do, and that's sanitize the pool and keep
Yeah, you know, a lot
algae.
of people don't understand when something falls out of suspension. They don't understand that terminology because
Yeah, you can't keep chemicals in liquid state. They separate. It's called flocculation. They separate out. They won't do their job. They're no
and that
longer
happens sometimes when people mix some of the wrong products together, not synergistic
exactly.
for
Yep.
anything. Whatever they clean, whether it's carpets, whether it's stone,
Mhm.
no matter what. So it's important to make sure things are synergistic and over mixing of things for sure. But go ahead. All right, what about citric then?
Sulfuric and muriatic are akin to each other. They will etch. Citric acid is found in foods to create tartness. Citric acid is really common. It's still an acid. It's no less likely to etch. It just has a different speed with which it does it. We're talking a lot of times stone, marble, travertine, but what we haven't talked about is what it can do to some metals.
Mm.
All right. Acid is great for cleaning rust off of rusty steel, tools, wrenches. Uh, I was soaking in muriatic acid. I was soaking some nuts and bolts, and it was wonderful how quickly it acted. And those bolts came out with not a stitch of rust on them. It was amazing.
And there's something.
But aluminum,
I use my rust remover all the time for stuff like that. Yep.
yep, they have a product called Naval Jelly. It's a
Mm-hmm.
jelly-based phosphoric. It's been
Well,
out forever.
it's too funny. You know, I make what's called, rust out, and that is a jelly. It's right in the
Interesting.
same thing there.
Yeah,
A
you
lot
have
of
a
people
way
don't
to
know that.
suspend it so it doesn't
TMF.
run to the bottom of the carpet. It stays where you want
Yep.
it.
I love that. Mhm.
So citric acid is a tartning that you would use in everything from candy to.
And by the way, a lot of people are allergic to citric acid because there's two different. One comes from, from
Well, it's
fruits, right?
Well,
All
and
right,
it's derived from
citrus
plants.
fruits
Yeah.
and plants. But however, there's other ones. The ones they're using mostly in our foods these days are coming from mold. It's made
Kind of
from
interesting.
black.
Yeah.
I think it's black mold. It's made for, and I'm allergic to it, man. I can't stand it. They put it in teas. They put it in sodas. They put it in almost everything. So whenever you see citric acid, generally, I think they have to tell you if it's just citric acid
How
or
it's
if they tell
derived.
you what it's from.
Yeah.
So it's
So
important to me.
and so citric is used in foods to tartan them because it sounds safe, right? Citrus.
Yes.
Sulfamic is usually purchased at Home Depot as a powder. It's used to take grout haze off of the surface of tile. Now, if it's a marble tile that's dark and you left grout haze on it, what is sulfamic acid trying to take off the grout haze going to do to the tile?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet and ugly, nasty, etch it. So we've got to know what we're using it for, and not just say, hey, I've got grout haze on this marble. It happens to be a dark marble, a serpentine green, or a forest, which are gorgeous, busy, dark forest. And you don't want to cause it to become etched in snow and frosted, milky looking. But you did that if you used an
Yeah.
acid that you shouldn't have used. So sulfamic is typically a safer acid for removing haze from the surface of a ceramic or porcelain tile.
Yes.
Um,
And Mark, listen, we've generally used a red pad and the sulfamic, basically, or what we use our kick acid for. And we'll go
right.
in there and hit it with that, and then we'll spin it after that. Then clean it with Grout Master, and it looks brand new again.
And the grout
So
master's higher pH is going to neutralize the acid, so that's
exactly,
why you're following up with that. And the red pad is a slight abrasive value. It's not a
exactly.
green pad. It's not a brown pad. It's not a black pad. Because if you
Yep.
use those abrasive pads to brute force off uh, haze, grout
Yeah, you're gonna
haze,
be in some trouble, bud.
you are going to scratch the ceramic itself, and you own it now. You can't
Hmm.
fix ceramic deep scratches in ceramic. It's just you own that floor. Another,
The Magio Geo said everything has citric acid in it these days. That's a fact when it comes to
yeah,
food and
it's a
drinks.
very inexpensive acid. It's easy to
Yeah.
produce. It's massable, but you just got to be careful with it. You got to be a label reader. Sulfamic, as I said, isn't for grout smears.
Yeah.
Grout smears are going to take so long to dissolve with the sulfamic acid that you're going to use mechanical agitation. You might even have to bring in something with more abrasive value. But again, stone you can hone and polish, so that's easy. Well, it might not be easy, but it's straightforward. Whereas ceramic and porcelain, you've just got to be patient. I've used a carbide scraper.
And
where
you
I
know what?
look-
And you know what the difficult thing is, Mark. When it's wet, it looks like it's gone.
Mhm.
So
but
sometimes you
but
don't know. So that's where again your micro test comes in handy again.
yeah,
You
you
know?
want to tackle it, see how well attached it is, see if it's
Yep.
really gritty. And why would you do this micro test before you start quoting? Oh, I don't know, ma'am. I'm going to quote you this price. I'm going to go in. It should be a piece of cake. Walk in the park, and then you start grinding and cutting and pushing.
That's
Go,
how
oh,
nightmares are made, right there, Mark.
that's where you want to back out.
Yeah.
So
It's
don't
too
look
late
like
sometimes.
the geek that doesn't really know your own trade, that you don't know what you're doing because you just proved her you don't know what you're doing. It's hard to backpedal and fix your reputation if you have to say, yeah, I kind of thought I could remove it. So
Yep.
do the
All right.
micro test. That's how you bid. You quote accurately because well, this isn't what I thought it would be, so I'm gonna put another $1 a square foot,
Yeah.
or
And
you
you
know,
know what? If you're knowledgeable in it, when you explain it to them, they're willing to spend the extra money. But if you can't explain it to them,
yeah.
it's not
If
gonna
you look
happen.
nervous, scared,
Mm-hmm.
unknowing, uncertain, that's called
Boy,
wearing
they
your
up
competence.
on that real fast. They say, well, maybe not this time. But if you know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're talking about,
yeah.
every time,
You'll
practically.
find someone who sounds more confident. Confidence is not. I'm not saying give
Cockiness. You're not
cocky.
saying cockiness.
You're shooting the bull. You're putting out
Yes, there's a big difference.
overly cocky. You're just saying, let me do a couple of tests here for you, and I'll get back with you. I'll circle the wagons. Let me do some
There
investigation
you
here
go.
because you don't know what kind of grout it is. What if it's grout and you think it's grout haze because it looks just like it, but it happens to
Yeah.
be polymerized grout that's made of polyurethane modified acrylics. This is a product in a bucket. Does not mix with cement. It's not water-based cementatious. It is in a bucket. You open it. It hits the air. It hits moisture in the air, and the grout begins to cure by itself. It has nothing to
Right.
do with the grout we typically commonly see called cement-based grout, and it is not even acid sensitive. So but it hit the market. It's still out there. I dislike it because it's oversold as a stain proof grout. Yeah, right. It
You
also
know,
tends
I
to
hate
color.
when I hate when any manufacturers use proofing. Really, they should be saying resistant, stain resistant.
Yeah, but
You know,
you
that's
can't.
whether, but that's whether it's hard surfaces, whether it's soft surfaces. All right,
It's
Mark, let's go to
it's
acetic
hard to
acid.
sell a $50 bucket of grout and call
True.
it stain
Stain
resistant. All
resistant.
right, so citric,
Let's
sulfamic,
go to
we already
acetic.
touched on that.
Let's go to acetic acid.
Acetic is really interesting.
Acetic,
You
excuse
can
me.
buy 99% acetic, and it's nasty. It's tough. But you know what? Acetic acid is white distilled vinegar, right? The wimpiest, wussiest acid you can buy at the grocery store. That's acetic acid. Glacial acetic acid is the stronger version, and they call it glacial acetic.
Yeah,
So,
glacial is definitely the strongest. And you take that stuff there, it's basically just doesn't have the, it's just got, it's almost like a deodorized vinegar. They're taking the odor
uh,
out itself to a certain
I
degree.
every time I open acetic acid, it smells like
It doesn't smell as, it doesn't smell anywhere as pungent, Mark, but I know what you're saying. You still recognize the punginess of it.
And when I was in high school. I was a photographer. I loved darkroom development, and acetic acid is the stop bath that we use to stop
Mm.
the development process on film and
Oh,
on the
interesting.
paper.
Hmm.
So acetic is that, but it can be just as harmful, and acetic is considered a safer, biologically safer acid.
But should,
Hydro,
listen, Mark, would you agree all acids should be handled with gloves
oh yeah, you should. I mean,
regardless?
I don't always, but
Yeah.
if you splash a little in your eyes, you'll know right why you should use, because acetic acid or vinegar is going to smart. Oh, it's going to smart.
You ain't lying.
That's what's in salsa and vinaigrettes and salad dressings. That's what they put in it, is acetic
Hmm.
acid. Now we're going to jump from a mellow acid to the most dangerous, deadly acid on the
Hydrofluoric.
planet, and that's hydrofluoric.
Hmm.
The reason it's dangerous, it's deadly, is because you can't even feel it until
And
it
where does it
gets.
go, Mark?
It goes right to the bones. It's seeking
Right
calcium
to
in
the
your
bone
bones.
marrow. Right to the bone
And,
marrow.
and on the way, it's going to burn through all your nerve endings and kill them. So if
I hope
you
everybody
find,
hears that clearly. I'm sorry to
yeah,
interrupt, but
and that was in a product that was called and used for years to take rust out. It was called erusticator,
I think it's
erusticator.
still in the product you can buy in the store called Wink too.
It is. It's supposedly more diluted, but here's the
But
problem
it's
with
so dangerous.
hydrofluoric acid must be and is usually sold with baking soda or a sodium bicarbonate chaser, because
Yeah,
once you use it, you need to neutralize it immediately, because just because it dries, it doesn't neutralize. It can be rehydrated and become just as
constantly.
dangerous again. Baby crawling across carpet, you had a lot of rust to remove, so you squirted it liberally and it disappeared. Boom, boom, gone. And I didn't rinse the carpet because, oh, it's gone. Why do I need to set up my rig again? Why do I need to rinse? I'll just spot that and be gone. It
Yep.
is laying there waiting to be rehydrated with just a glass of water, another carpet cleaner, and
But
it's just
Mark, if you come in with a high pH pre-spray, that should neutralize it. But
exactly.
I recommend. Listen, we don't use hydrofluoric at all at TMF. As a matter of fact, we seek out the safest. You know, the EPA has what's called safer chemistry, and that's what we aim for. We aim for the most safest products that are made for our raws, and I'll never use hydrofluoric. But go ahead,
Yeah,
Mark. I'm sorry.
it
Go
is
ahead.
actually an acid used to etch glass.
You think about
Honestly,
that for a little while.
if you want
Yeah.
to etch glass in the
Wow.
arts, in the world of artistic endeavor, they etch glass by using a masking first to not let the acid etch areas of the design in the piece of colored glass or whatever. And then, like stained glassing, and you just want a certain etch to go on, then you use hydrofluoric acid. In fact, we use this is called acid graffiti, where punks will go down the street, beautiful Fifth Avenue, Hollywood, uh, wherever the fancy, chiciest storefronts are,
Are
and
you
just
saying they'll bring that stuff and
they'll
they'll?
bring it in their pocket and carry it with a flip top, and then just walk down and go squirt, squirt, squirt while they're walking, and or do their gang signs or whatever they want to do, and you don't
Man,
see it until it dries, and now you've etched that glass to the tune of tens of
wow,
thousands of dollars.
wow.
Just go down the circuit and just wipe out all the jewelry stores with your gang signs, because now in order to fix it, the cost of replacing a whole pane of glass
Yeah.
or glass polishing. And that is another skill set and a process we, as restoration contractors, we can learn how to polish glass. There's
And we're
four to
talking mainly shower glass, correct?
yeah, or big pane windows that happen.
Yeah.
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 But in our
I
business,
don't
we're
I don't
there.
really see I don't really see that in our space, but some people are in the window. I wonder if
Oh,
window cleaners offer that service, Mark. I've never
so,
done window cleaning.
some
There's a
do,
lot
and
of
some
carpet
don't
cleaners who
want
do.
to. And all they've done is referred it to the guys who do. I know guys who've been cleaning carpet that diversified, and they literally buy the equipment. I bought a $2,900 piece of equipment that uses cerium oxide, which is a mineral. It's a rare earth mineral. Unfortunately, it comes from China, and we're having trade wars here. But that mineral is fairly expensive per pound. It could be as high as $30 a pound, but you don't need much. It is used to polish beveled glass, mirror glass, polish crystal, lead crystal. You know, all the fancy carved lead crystal. They use the mineral cerium oxide to do that, to bring it to the final pop. So the diamond media will polish. Rubber wheels again are used to give the shape you want. Diamond electro-bonded diamonds or sintered diamonds to give you the shape, and then you want it to polish it, look perfectly like melted, beautiful glass.
Correct.
And that is what cerium oxide's for. We can take micro scratches or scale that's on shower glass, and we can bring it back to new without spending $3,000, $4,000 on replacing all the glass in someone's shower. So moving on to hydrochloric, again, hydrochloric is just, again, the values, the minerals that are in them, whether they're organic or inorganic, isn't my shtick. The more I learn, the more I know, but you know, some stuff, okay, it's acid, it will eat up. Every one of these will destroy calcium-based stone. And aluminum trim around a shower. You're trying to fix scale and soap scum. The hard minerals in showers and on tile is calcium, magnesium, and sometimes sodium gets trapped in it. But sodium is fairly soluble. But if it's trapped in with calcium and magnesium, it's part of the building block of this white, crusty look. Manganese is another one, but manganese is less common, and it usually comes out of certain tiles like saltillo, manganese saltillo, or manganese that's native to the clay they dug the tile out of and created the tile from. But manganese could also be used in some glazes to create a certain color. It's kind of a brownish gray look. When you see a sidewalk that has chronically been hit by sprinklers and there's a puddle there over and over, year after year, and the sun dries it and bakes it, manganese is an element that's in concrete, cement. Well, what makes up the compounds that hold tile to the ground? What's in the concrete under the tile? There could be a percentage of manganese. So could it precipitate out? Could it wick up? Yes, if there's high water table, if there's water going under the house and wicking up because you live in a part of the country where water is just kind of 1 foot down in the soil. Arizona is not that place in the world, believe me.
So so is that related to efflorescence?
It can be one of the components of efflorescence. Efflorescence is typically very white,
Yes.
and that can be coming from the setting materials, because what is one of the components of grout and mortar and concrete underneath? Calcium. What color's calcium? This is a trick question, guys. No, it isn't. Yeah. What color's your bones? What color's your fingernails?
Yeah.
If they were clipped and laying on the ground? White. That's
Hey,
just calcium.
somebody asked, what about slate?
Yeah, slate is totally acid proof, acid resistant. It has no
It is?
effect.
Why
Because
is that?
it's not made of a single calcium component. It's clay. It's schist or clay. It has there's no calcium in it. You can't hurt.
Is there any other stone that's the same way?
Some granites have very little. You've heard of calcite base. There are some real pretty stones. We have quartzite. Quartzite has a lot of high value quartz. It's very heavy, very dominant, very durable, scratch resistant, but it also has acid sensitive components, little crystals that can be affected. Geology is really fun. My dad took it in the Air Force, and he had books laying around. I love the idea. I'm a bit of a rock hound. I got rocks laying everywhere. I got rocks on my
I
head.
bet you did.
So the more you understand, the more you're less likely to be dumb about it. Do dumb things to it. But if you can etch
What
a stone,
about shell tile, Mark? What about shell
kind?
tile?
Well, shell means, what is a shell made of? Seashells. Not a trick question. Anybody have an answer? Anyone able to respond in here?
Yeah, I'm watching for it.
Shells are made of the same thing our teeth and our fingernails and our bones are made out of. Magic C word, calcium. So calcium is what the coral reefs are made out of. Why? Because little creatures cemented calcium. They took calcium out of the ocean, cemented it together as an excretion, and built the coral reefs. And we go in millions of years later, and suddenly there's an earthquake, and it moves up these huge shelves of calcium called limestone. And oceanic limestone, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, Albania, all of these coastal regions, you can quarry stone just a slight bit inland, and you'll have beautiful seashell fossils in them. That's why we call it shellstone. It's stone. It had millions of years to densify. Other minerals went inside and filled the voids, and they became stone, but they're still acid sensitive. Limestone, calcium, marbles, and other things they're in the same family chemically. They're just made in different ways over different periods with different mineral content in different parts of the world. So shellstone has those cute little creatures in there, the trilobites and cone shells and all different kinds of creatures.
Well,
But
now, Mark, listen, I've seen people, and I think I mentioned this to you before. I've been to some very wealthy homes, and they'll put that shell stone all around their pool. And it's amazing how nice that stuff is because,
yeah,
it's non-slip. It's gorgeous
non-slip
looking.
because it
It
has tons
stays
of holes
looking
in it,
good.
and it never gets hot. It's
Never
very
gets
expensive
hot.
here in Arizona.
Yes.
We call it air conditioned. They'll call it self-air
But
conditioned.
being used around the pool, I didn't see any damage to it.
Yeah, because why? What's in the pool? You have hard water. As you
Mhm.
evaporate, it just leaves the minerals behind. However, I have seen in shellstone or travertine, because travertine is the same chemical makeup, I've seen manganese build because of just constant water drop and the grout that's cementing the tiles together. Most of these are set on sand, so there's good drainage underneath. They're not usually set on concrete with a mortar bed. They're set up, and they're not thin tiles. They're pretty thick. They're 4 centimeters. Really nice and thick.
It was amazing.
Yeah, so that's something you can pressure wash them. They are going to be a little softer for you. They really are. They're gonna create the possibility of erosion from spalling.
I don't.
Spalling is
I
water
don't think
goes in.
most. I don't think most people have come across shellstone around the pool or used in different areas.
Yeah, we
It's
should
a
do
rare thing.
we should because it's crazy expensive.
It is.
We should do a video on stone, identification. Just put a big old cross section of the most amazing stuff out there. There's
Well,
some
maybe
stuff.
you know what? Maybe we'll do that next week. Stone ID.
Yeah, maybe if the consensus is everyone would love it, then maybe we should do that.
Okay. Hey, Mark. Somebody asked the question: what leads to moisture problems in quartzite?
Well, we're probably talking a slab around the sink, right? We're not talking on the ground.
I
We're
would
not
think
talking,
he can
so
answer that. Looks like his middle name is Last Hanson Billy. Looks like Billy. I guess we'll go by Billy. I hope. But
so
he's asking. Yeah, I've only seen quartzite for the most part on countertops. Is it used
yeah,
in other
because
places?
it's gorgeous. It has some of the properties of a granite,
Yeah.
but granite's so boring. We want movement. I did a home. It's like a $6 million home up on the mountain in Scottsdale, and a most beautiful, beautiful fireplace facade, 15
Oh wow,
feet in the air, and they butterflied it. Do you know what?
man!
It's called mirrored or bookend.
You should put
Do
some
you see what
pictures. Is that it?
do you see what a bookend means? It
Yes.
means they split the stone, they cut it, and the two facing stones were then flipped. Let me try and so here's the slab. They cut it and they take this piece and flip it and then finish both those surfaces. Normally, you just cut a stone and finish the top layer and then cut another one, finish that top layer. Well, if the stone is so thick and slab is typically 2, 3, or even 4 centimeters, so you can use it as a slab and put it on a wall, put it in a countertop, and it doesn't crack. It's not fragile. But if you're making tiles, you want it small enough to ship and handle. But tiles are 15, 18, 20-inch diameter or thick dimensions, and you don't want it too thick because then it's just too unwieldy and you're wasting your material. So when you do this thing with the stone, you are cutting it, and this is a 4-way, not a 2-way bookend, or I call butterfly. So the cut down the middle mirrored it one way, and then they cut the other direction and mirrored it the other way. This is probably 10 by 8 foot slab, and they mount it on the wall for its beauty. And the reason that the left and the right are so close to each other is because they came from the exact dead face of each other. If you had cut the stone and refaced the other side and you then laid it on top, it would completely be different. Part of this would be a different part of the butterfly. Here's another one that's a 2-way.
By the way, Mark, he did say around the countertop.
Okay, so the countertop, quartzite. We're drifting off subject. We do that.
That's why I wondered. That's my job. Bring you back.
Yeah. So when quartzite is exposed to wetness, or the stove where the cooking grease and oil is continuous and the heat is continuous, you can put a penetrating sealer on the surface at the fab shop or when the installer installs it, and then every year be faithful about installing that coating or that penetrating sealer to reduce the chance of this. However, where do people forget to seal? Just take a wild stab at this. Slab was fabricated. They cut the sink out in the middle. They cut and drilled and bored the holes for the faucets, the soap dispenser, etc. The disposal air switch. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you telling me they don't seal those?
They don't seal it because where is the hole drilled most of the time? A lot of times it's drilled after it's installed because they don't know. They got to make sure the homeowner says, "Where do you want your faucet? What brand? What make? What model?" You know, there's how many different models of faucets are out there in the world, guys. Yeah. Don't try to count them. There's thousands. So how's the configuration? What's the diameter of the hole? Are they spaced close? Is it a single mixer in the middle? Is it a double faucet mixer? You know, you got to drill them holes perfect. You just blew a 15, 20, 30,000 slab because I thought it was to be drilled here. So, it's got to be drilled where? And who's going to go think, I'm going to go seal where? The inside edge of that hole. Here's your hole. It's 3 centimeters thick.
I'm thinking about my granite countertop at home. Sad to say, it's not sealed.
You're not going to sleep all night now thinking about this.
I'm going to have to go back there. I'm going to go in there and look at that sucker.
So sorry that I just planted this seed of nightmare.
Well, actually, I changed one of the soap dispensers, and it just moves around. So I realized it's not sealed.
So if you want to uninstall all of your fixtures, that's on you. But I would, because how are you going to take out water that is wicked into the edges of that stone? How are you going to stop fats and oils where the stove is spattering, and you're wiping it up later, but it's got down that little edge between the range top and the sealed stone. And
but Mark, I thought one of the beauties of quartzite was that it didn't absorb moisture.
Quartzite is just about as porous as granite.
It is.
And granite's not that porous, right? Supposedly.
No, especially if it's polished.
Compared to limestone or travertine or
marble. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's happening? Okay. So it puts a new perspective on it, but fabricators don't care. Why would they care?
Yeah, true.
How many years go by before we come into the house and we get approached with, "Hey, can you clean this? Can you fix this?" Well, I'll try with poultices, and there's a forum, a Facebook group that is all about stone. You can be a member of that. Some of you guys here on this, and we'll see this video later.
I can't be a member.
And
they
so
banned me.
There's a lot of fixes. Poultices is what we run to. Poultices using diatomaceous earth, acetone, or somebody's secret potion.
Mark, okay, go ahead. What about? All right, let's move on to the next acids. So, because I don't want to get too.
Okay, we'll finish this, but I would like to go back and tell you how to fix this.
Okay, well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and give me the fix first.
Okay, there's a biological method. Microbes will digest and eat oils. Now, it won't eat water. water just needs to dry out. You can do that by raising the temperature of the stone. You can do that with infrared heat, just not an air dryer. That'll slowly dry it, and then you seal it. Because if you seal it first, where's the water going to go? Where's the moisture going to go?
Yeah.
Well, it can go down, or can it? What do they do to the bottom of a slab? Anybody know? In the fab shop?
Do they seal it?
Sometimes they reinforce it with fiberglass resin.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that on the back of it before. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Water ain't getting out there.
Wow, that's right.
It ain't getting out that way at all.
So you done sealed it right inside there.
So you seal it in, and you just said, "Yeah, I like that little oily, wet look." It's there forever. So don't prematurely try to seal some if you haven't got all the moisture out. Or in the case of fats, oils, liquid oils, get it out first. Okay. So
Mark, you're saying using infrared. He just chimed in here and said, well, poultice. He said, what do you suggest for quartzite as far as a poultice? He said, someone mentioned that one should proceed with caution when using a poultice on quartzite due to potential moisture problems from the poultice itself.
The poultice itself. Now, the moisture is out of water, but some poultices use acetone. They use solvents. But that is to chase certain stains. Remember, what I'm going to propose is not a poultice, typical poultice. It's a poultice that has microbes in it. The microbes are going to eat till the food's gone. What is their food source? Long-chain hydrocarbons, or hydrocarbons are long-chain carbons, which is salad oil, all food oils, avocado oil, grapeseed oil, peanut oil.
So is that what's in there? And are you saying it's not water that's in there?
That's what's usually next to a range, a stove.
Yes, my range looks just like that, man.
Yeah. What's near the faucets is usually water and soap.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, I want everyone to understand something about stone. When they fabricate a slab, they put a rod, which isn't really a round rod. To me, is a round stick of metal.
Yeah.
This is a strap. It's a rod of steel that is a band. It is, maybe an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch thick.
Okay.
That is called rod inclusion. They're going to cut into that slab in two places on a countertop. The thin spot in front of the sink and the thin spot where the faucets are going to be. Now, they strategically put it where the faucets aren't going to be drilled, so that's close to the edge or behind the holes where they're going to drill.
Okay.
That's what they do. They embed this rod in fiberglass or polyester resin or epoxy resin, but some of the fabricators do a real piss poor job of embedding it. They'll create the rod, they'll put it in, and then just smear epoxy or polyester putty or resin over the top of the rod, trying to force it in, but they don't get it completely embedded around the steel. What's going to happen to steel? They don't use stainless steel, by the way. I wonder why. It's expensive. Why would you use stainless steel when you could buy a piece of iron you bought at the iron shop? So they put regular steel in there. And when regular steel gets in contact with regular water, what's going to happen, everybody?
There you go. You got the same problem.
It's going to swell and rust. When it rusts, it expands. When it expands, it cracks the granite.
Yeah.
It's rod jacking. The rod jacked the stone apart, destroyed it from the inside. There's guys that make a living.
So that's why it's so important to get the moisture out when you can.
If you're a fabricator, get the dadgum thing waterproof. Embed it. Wrap it in glass that's been embedded in resin, polyester resin. Just bury that. I wish they'd make rods.
Have you ever, Mark? Mark, we have some fabricators in their area, and they've invited me over. I think it'd be fascinating to go over there.
You should do a quick video and say, so how do you strengthen and reinforce the front and the back? They're going to show you. And you, the critic that knows something now, are going to say, how come you steel? Won't that rust and expand and create rod jacking? And if they look like, what's that?
Right.
That's one industry not understanding our industry that we walk into, and we have to build it. There's guys that make a bucket of money. Why? They fix these because what's the cost of replacing a whole countertop?
I can only imagine. It'd be astronomical after the fact, especially.
So what are they going to pay you to fix it? Small buckets of money. Honestly, what's your option? Just smear putty in it and say, I wish that wasn't there. Put a Band-Aid on it. You can
All right,
fix it.
so-
Learn how to. All right. So poultices that will chase the hydrocarbons or long chain carbons to get rid of the oil. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Like any good things, it takes time to do some serious, deep problems. Then protect and seal everywhere you can. Pull the range out. Oh, I don't do that. I don't pull the range out. Why wouldn't you pull the range out? So the oil can soak in again after you fixed it? Makes no sense. So get that range out. If you don't want to touch it, have the homeowner do it. If the homeowner don't know how to do it, have an appliance guy come and do it. What's it worth to you to have this problem fixed, or just stare at a ugly, greasy spoon kitchen?
And anything worth doing is worth doing right. You hate to half-ass anything.
That's right.
I agree with you.
So uric acid, we're going on to the uric.
All right,
Uric
let's do it.
acid is something that creates a problem, a health problem called gout. Anybody here that's in my 40 and up age bracket, I've suffered from gout on 2 occasions, and it's the most agonizing pain.
Hey, Mark, is it true? Is it true? There's been an old saying back in the old days, because my boss used to get it, and they would say only rich people got gout. Did you ever hear that?
Maybe because people eat rich foods instead.
That's what I was thinking. Certain foods, exactly.
There's probably a website you can go to and find the solution to that. But, believe me, I'm not rich, and I just eat the wrong foods, I guess. And it comes and goes, and you can have a pre-genetic predisposition to be susceptible. As you reach a certain age, your body's chemistry can't deal with it. Well, uric acid goes in there and starts forming crystals inside and collects on your bones and the nerve endings around your bones. And when you try to flex, move, and walk, it's like little needles going into your foot.
You know what, Mark? A colleague I used to know.
Gosh, it's agony.
A colleague I used to know that would happen to. It put him in crutches each time.
Because you can't
that
walk.
Goes to show.
If you bend your foot, it'll be agony. So you want to suspend your foot in the air while you're trying to get over it. And the doctor.
Well, Mark, isn't that the same as kidney stones too?
Well, that's uric. No, that's oxalate. So we're going to get into oxalate here soon. So calcium.
I've never had that problem with kidney stones, but I've heard people tell me, because it sounded like what you're talking about, stepping on glass. They say it's like peeing glass. Oh, I would die, man, just even thinking about it.
Yeah, let me give you a perspective. So I passed a 2 millimeter kidney stone a couple of years ago.
Oh God.
And passing it through the urethra isn't the painful part. Yeah, it can hurt, but it's the final stage of it. It's the relief side. It's when it passes from your kidney to the bladder. It goes through a tube called the ureter, and the ureter has. I got to talk to God someday and ask him, why did he put nerve endings in this short tube from my kidneys to my bladder?
Must have been a reason.
Nerve endings. And as that little crystal of uric, calcium oxalate, goes from here to the bladder and drops in, it has daggers and spikes like a deadly crystal. It is not a stone. It looks like switchblades in all directions.
It's funny how they call it that, though, stones, isn't it?
It is a stone. It's very hard, but those crystals grew very slowly in your kidney. And when it's finally jarred loose, because it worked its way out, and the kidney said, I don't want you. You're out of here. It starts going down the ureter, and that's where the agony starts.
Hey, Mark, here's something strange. One of my employees, he got it, and the doctor told him to go back and drink a bunch of beer. I thought that was odd. And he said it cleared it up. He was shocked.
Well, there must be something in the beer, because
that's what I said, you know?
This Mormon boy probably wouldn't use that method, but I wouldn't.
I forgot what type of beer. When I find out, I'll let you know. But he said, "Man, it's like a miracle."
I'll drink O'Doul's near beer if that's going to fix me.
All right, what's the next one? Nitric,
and then my citric, and then my last stone was 6 millimeters. I wasn't going to pass it, so they had put me under the knife, and they blasted the stone and got it out of me. And
this sounds painful, Mark.
So the uric acid is not as common, but it is an acid that you can find in industry, and it just won't be on Mrs. Jones's shelf anywhere. And nitric acid, it's also one that can be in a lot of foods. It's supposed to be biocompatible, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Carbonic, that's a really nasty acid, and I think they use that in etching and in industry, electronics. Again, I don't think we're going to encounter it.
No.
Oxalic. Formic is, I'm going to do the last one. Formic is also something that's in food. We have one that's not on here, and that is malic, M-A-L-I-C, malic acid.
One more thing too, Mark. You didn't put lactic acid on there. It looks like
That's
I'm
right.
looking
It
through
was
the list.
lactic. That's a milk sugar acid,
And that's
LACTIC.
what builds up after a workout, isn't it?
That's
Lactic
right. And
acid.
it accumulates in your muscles, and so you need to
Hmm.
purge that. And so these are
Painful.
part of the biology.
If you
Acid
ever
isn't.
if you ever walk
That's
into a
always.
gym, if you laid off for a while, you walk into a gym and you lift heavy, you'll be hurting for a couple of days, and
Yeah.
that's the lactic acid. Is there any way to offset that?
I'm not a nutritionist. There might be somebody in here who's into weight
Yeah,
training and whatever, but
yeah,
there's a lot of treatments you're supposed to do. Of course, you want to keep your electrolytes up. And what are electrolytes? Minerals, right? They're
yeah.
minerals.
Hmm.
There's tons of them, and so they're necessary for our
Well,
nerves to talk to
even
each other.
manganese, right? Manganese,
Manganese,
manganese. However you
magnesium,
say it, exactly. I mean, that's
and
people.
magnesium.
I saw online when I'm watching some documentaries, people use manganese to powder for people, especially women. What is it they get?
Muscle cramps.
No, something else. Oh, can't remember what it's called. It'll.
We'll have to do a health and nutrition.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
So formic or lactic acid. So oxalic acid. This is one that our industry uses when you learn how to use it. Oxalic acid is derived from a plant called oxalis. The whole front of my flower bed in the front of my house facing north is growing beautiful little yellow flowers on oxalic or oxalis. The shamrock is an oxalis. They're beautiful flowers. It's a botanical thing in nurseries, depending on which variety you want. They're pink, white, purple, and bright yellow. But they'll grow acres and acres of this so they can harvest the plant and squeeze and harvest the juice out of the stems. If you bite a stem right now, it'll be just like you bit into a lemon. Very, very strongly acidic and has a very punchy lemon taste. These will etch your teeth. Dentists will use a certain one of these acids in very strong form, and it will be used to etch your teeth so he can put on a veneer. He wants
There's
to
a
glue a
toothpaste.
veneer.
There's a toothpaste right now that's having a problem. They have a I can say it's a class action lawsuit against them. It's Hello
Because
Toothpaste.
what did they put in it?
I don't want to say, but you can. Everybody's welcome look it up. But it's ruining people's teeth, and it's also causing like ulcers in their mouths. So there's a
Wow.
class action lawsuit against them right now.
Anyone
So
who eats kids that eat a lot of acid candies, what's the one acid I love to use this as an example? Who I had to hide this because I don't want my kids. Anyway, Sour Patch.
you shouldn't
And
be
I'm
eating
going
that
to
stuff.
read an ingredient in here. Let's see. Ingredients: sugar, invert sugar, cornstarch, modified cornstarch contains less of the tartaric. There's one we forgot on our list. Tartaric acid and citric acid. So 2 acids were used in this food, tartaric and citric, to give you that punchy tartness, right? And to eat your teeth. So when you're reaching menopause, you women who are listening to this, or you gentlemen who have women who are reaching menopause, their hormones shift and they stop assimilating calcium very well. And if they're drinking and love Coke, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, and any other beverage that has high concentrations of Mr. Number One, phosphoric acid, read your Coke. I could read it to you right now. It'll have malic and phosphoric. Really? Why? It's tartness, but it's it's etching your teeth. It's also purging your body, her body, of calcium, brutalizing the bones. The hormones shift, and they're no longer able to manage that pH balance. And if you're drinking phosphoric acid every day, twice a day, whatever, and you're going to reach menopause, you're going to start getting osteoporosis.
All right, Mark. Let's go ahead and entertain a couple questions now. AMA. Then we're going to go ahead and shut this down here. What's up, Alakran? Good to have you here. Kenny says, should I be using acid rinse on a white carpet and upholstery? Absolutely. We use it all the time, and it helps basically keep some of the browning away and stuff like that. Helps
Right, but he didn't
reoccur.
qualify the type of white. White can be synthetic, but it can
Yeah,
also be that really
he might be talking cotton and
cotton.
linen. If you're using cotton and linen, then I'm going to go towards a. Whoops. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Cotton, linen, wool, or viscose. They're all if they're
Right.
white.
That's when
You're
you
see it.
Kenny, you'd be using a reducer. So really, a reducer or be using an acid rinse. But I would say 99% to 95% of the time, you're going to be using an acid rinse for carpets and for upholstery. But you're right.
And
If you come across a cotton, a linen, or a rayon, or even a blend, you might want to use something like our cotton linen shampoo, which has a
now,
reducer built
now,
in.
now that we're on that subject, I want to remind you guys how dangerous your own equipment can be when you don't understand. If you've just done a urine treat job and you want to hydroforce inject it, or you want to meter an acid in your truck mount, and you're done with that job, and now you're on a marble floor, what is in your mix tank? What is in your hoses?
If
Think
you
about
haven't cleared out.
If you haven't flushed it, well, who flushes hoses? It's harmless. I go do the next carpet job. A little acid ain't going to hurt it. Well, what does acid do when you're trying to put an alkaline in your hydroforce? It'll
Kills it.
neutralize the very pH you're trying to do. So purge.
And you know
your
the
darn-
crazy thing is, Mark, people try to say it's not enough to do it. But listen, if you're dealing with a dirty carpet or a dirty tile and you had your acid rinse on and it's going through there, what's it designed to do in the first place? It's designed to drop the pH.
neutralize the alkalinity.
Exactly. So I
you
don't
your
understand
first-
people's concept on that,
you
you
know,
know.
your
But
first 40, 50 square feet, whatever it is. I don't know how long it takes you to purge your hose. What if
that's
you
why
had a
that's why I always start off in the cleanest room. Or Mark, I've actually purged the hose by running
just
the
out on
wand
the
maybe
driveway?
outside.
get rid-
Exactly. I've done
outside.
it before. you know?
And
Nothing
don't
wrong
just
with that.
assume you know what you're doing because you've always done it that way. All it takes is one. I had to do a repair for I'm not going to mention the company, but the major franchise, and they called me in to polish a floor. Never mind. I had to polish the travertine floor
That's
because their
terrible.
tech was walking through the house with the hydroforce with the right juice in it, but in the wand, in the hose, was what they last used in a treatment for urine. And it dribbled little spots all across that floor. And when they dried, they just didn't wipe away. I wonder why, because it's etched now. So it was innocent enough. He just didn't know what he's doing. It's just a good hygienic habit. Purge
Exactly.
your dang hoses, especially if you're
Right.
dealing with acids. I try not to deal with acids. And
Let
I'm
me
not
address,
an
Mark. I'm gonna,
alkaline rinser. I'm not an acid
exactly.
rinser.
Well, I'm going to get to that because I'm going to go ahead and address the second part of the question. It says, is acidic rinse universal or should I be using an alkaline rinse as well? Well, I'll tell you what I've done and I recommend to people. I take out my 5-gallon rinse container. Okay. All right. What I'll do is I'll replace that with 2.5-gallon containers. I'll keep alkaline on one side, acidic on the other side. And most of the times I'm going to be using acidic, especially if I'm coming across urine, mild soil, malodors, and stuff like that. And if
Natural
I'm working
fiber,
with furniture,
carpet,
natural
area
fibers,
rugs,
exactly. Area rugs,
roller
exactly.
cotton. Yeah.
There you go.
Viscose.
There you go. However, if I'm coming across a nasty, oily, especially a polyester, greasy, dog odors and stuff like that, I'm going to flip my hose instead of having
All
to
the way to alkaline as you can.
just lift it, put it right over it, and you can adjust you can adjust it up.
Your feet.
So definitely.
But you got to do what first before you go
Yeah,
in?
you're gonna have to purge it.
Purge
You have to
them
purge
dang
it some.
hoses.
Or
You gotta
Mark start in the cleanest room first, if there is a clean room. But I found most trashed homes, there's no clean room.
Yeah, the
If it's a
traffic
trashed home,
everywhere.
every room's trashed. So yeah, purge it first. Get all that acid rinse out of there.
Yeah.
Excellent point, Mark.
Yeah, and you have to, or you're going to pay a price that you won't want to pay. You'll
And
call,
you know what? I've seen people come online and they say, "Oh, I pre-sprayed it, and you know the carpets didn't come clean. You know, I had to clean 2 rooms. They were filthy." And I said, "Listen, did you purge it? Did you?" "Oh, no, I didn't do that." I said, "Do you have the acid rinse on?" They said, "Yeah." They had it actually on, Mark. They had it metering. You know,
yeah, you
I'm
want to
going
kill.
like,
Do you want to kill your pre-spray and make it like you might as well just
and then you
spray
can't
water.
figure out why it doesn't work. Plus, when acid rinse hits the carpet, it generally stops the cleaning process as soon as it hits the carpet
Right away.
anyway.
So yeah, that's
So
one of the
people-
negatives to acid rinsing as well.
However, Ultimate Fiber Rinse, it took a couple years to make. It actually has some cleaning capability. And that's what makes it unique.
The built-in
makes it unique.
surfactant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let's see if
anybody?
there's any more questions here.
Yeah, let's address any they have.
Let's get late on my end, man. We got a late start. And I apologize, everyone, for not being on here last Wednesday. I don't know if you know about it, but here on the East Coast, we had a very rare snowstorm. Matter of fact, Mark, 70 degrees today. Last week,
my heart just goes out to you. That's so
last
sad.
week, but last week it was 17, 18 degrees, which is very unusual.
Yeah,
Extremely unusual for us. And we got like almost 2 feet of snow. And
We
you know
were
what, Mark?
83.
All the snow. Hey, listen, I got to show you this. This is hilarious right here. Sure, Kenny, no problem. Let's see if y'all can see this. I'm going to hold it right up to here instead of popping there. Watch what one of my employees sent me today. You know how they go through and they pile up all the snow? I guess you don't really get snow there, do you, Mark?
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
I hear you. I hear you.
They
But look,
pile up sand and dead cactus.
but look what my employees sent to me. I'll tell you, they're crazy as they could be sometimes. Let's see. And we'll end it with this right here. Let's see. Oh, I get a lot of text messages throughout the day. I got to go back a little bit. Here we go. So, can you see that?
look at making snow angels.
Oh, that was today. You know what he said? It's so wet. You know what I mean? Because it really was wet. I'm surprised he didn't break his back. You know what I mean? Jeez. But it's almost all melted except where they piled it up. But that's even melting fast. Let's see. Kenny asked another question here. Let's see. Alacran says, open a TMF shop in Southern California. You never know. Hey, as a matter of fact, Alacran, do you know my son is over there in is it Marietta? He's right by LA somewhere. So you're welcome to look him up and have a talk with him, maybe get some lunch with him too. And you'd probably enjoy that. He would enjoy it too.
Yeah, he wants a store there though.
I know he does. I know he does. Well, they could talk about that. All right, let's see. Kenny's got another question here. I was about to wrap this up. We'll get to this. Do you think pump up sprayers get the best out of your pre-spray compared to a hydroforce? If you're running to me, if I'm running my hydroforce 4-to-1, I'm going to get the same results, in my opinion. I'm going to get it done faster and quicker.
My take on this is efficiency. I hate pump ups. I always have and always. I don't even own any. I use a hydroforce and I know how to use it. But I also hearing everybody's into the electrics because those will recharge. You can get a good steady stream.
They are handy.
They're handier, but they're costlier, and you got to keep them batteries charged, and you got to replace them when they're dead. I've used the hydroforce. Maybe I've only owned 3 in my entire 35 years, and I rebuild them when needed, and I just use them for tile, for carpet. Yes, I know, guys, even upholstery, which makes me look pretty doofus. Spraying water everywhere on those pillows. I wanted to touch base while you're looking for another question. Oxalic, we talked a lot about how these acids are in our world, how they're used, but we didn't touch really on they're used for cleaning scale, but they're used for neutralizing our process of cleaning. But oxalic is an interesting acid that is used to polish stone. Mm-hmm. You've heard of recrystallizing. When you recrystallize marble or travertine or onyx or limestone.
But doesn't the oxalic eventually ruin it when you're crystallizing it over time?
If you recrystallize 100% throughout its entire life, you create a surface tension on the stone that initiates premature spalling, not spalling with moisture underneath, fragging the stone apart. That's a form of spalling. In a shower, you'll see marble. There was a post on TMF 2 days ago, and it showed a shower that was completely at the bottom level. Only the bottom tiles were marble. The whole tile was marble, but at the bottom, they were all spalled. All the veining was opening up. There were chunks of marble falling out because water would go into the edge of the tile at the pan. They had a pan break, a breach between the pan tile and the wall tile, and that was letting water in daily. Husband, wife, every day, 2 showers a day. Water couldn't go anywhere but somewhere into the stone. And as it goes in the stone and it slowly dries, all the calcium that's in that water, soluble calcium, dries in the stone's surface. When it starts drying, it impacts. It says, I got no place for you guys. You're going to have to just push me out. And the calcium spalls the stone. So they needed to seal it, but they got to fix it first. And there were some fixes. We can talk about that on another day of repair, stone repair. But it's important that you have protection and you stop a problem from going worse because it'll ruin the stone. It'll just completely disintegrate. So
always important to have protection, Mark.
Yeah. We have I have 7 kids. I never used
You sure did have 7 kids. You're a brave man. How many grandkids you got now?
7 also. We just learned we're pregnant on Valentine's Day with my daughter in Las Vegas, who they're having their first little boy. We just got a gender reveal today. He's a little boy. So
wait a minute. Which gender was it out of the 26?
What now? I know you're being funny. I don't get it though.
That's
What?
what they say. There's 26 genders. I
Oh,
say, I don't know. Just take the 6 off, and I'll stick with the 2.
yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, I will too.
Yeah, we won't go there. That's a little bit of a touchy subject, but that's some craziness. That's
Rob, you like to go where politics dare go.
yeah. I'll go. I like to speak my mind, no doubt about it. I think we need to do one
We
on
need
some
to do
different
more of it.
subjects.
If everybody's mealy mouthed and afraid of speaking religion and politics,
Big business, all that. Yeah, you should be able to talk about anything. That's what America's built on. You know what I mean? I hate the fact that they're working on trying to take away. Let me tell you what. When they take away your First Amendment, the next thing they get is your Second Amendment.
that's right.
And
Because the Second Amendment gives you the free.
remember what they were sending? The way they wanted everybody to send over to Ukraine? Weapons, right? To be able to defend themselves, right? So if you take the weapons away, you have no way to defend yourself. There's an old song called "God and Guns" by Leonard Skinner. You never hear of. You should go out and listen to that. It's pretty nifty to listen to. Now, I'm not a gun advocate, but I am a constitutional advocate. So I feel like there should be no really topics you can't talk about. Now, of course, you can't yell fire or something like that inside of a theater.
That's just malicious stupidity.
Right.
So maybe we'll discuss on repair, because we did last time on repairing acid etch on marble and stone. Those of you who didn't get an opportunity, we'll just give you a look at. We're not going to go deep. Wow, where did it go? I have sold it. It was so cool. I might have sold it. Here it is. So it's a beautiful Italian black marble. It's actually gray, but they call it Italian black. Let me buck this down. That's as down as I can get it. I'll have to hold it up, and I'm strong. It's a 3 centimeter. But you can see all the degrees of honing. The original is on this left. I'm going to have to bring that camera down. Here we go. So the original finish is right here. And there's virtually no shine. There's just a slight glow, if you want to call it. So we took it through all the steps of different grits of diamond cat. We polished it. The number 1, the most coarse, was this chalky light gray here. And then we took it to number 2, which is in front of it. And then we went to 3.
Mark, do you ever take something like that in the show to customers, see what level of shine they want?
I don't take my stone in. I go into their garage, pick out their leftover stone, and I do this so they can see the real McCoy on their floor before I actually do it.
Smart.
They can pick where they want it to be. So this one here is what? I don't know, a little mirror, you can see a reflection in it. So that's the final step, which we created with acid. Oxalic acid.
Oxalic.
We used a very fine grit, 3000 grit pad on a hand machine, and oxalic acid and ammonia to buffer it.
It sounds so counterproductive.
Yeah, when I first heard they're using acids to polish stone, here's the best analogy. I want you guys, anyone gone to the skating rink and done hockey or ice skated before? Yeah. What comes along so long after you've skated on and kind of dulled and scratched and scarred the finish of the rink?
I don't know, whatever that machine
comes out. What's that
machine?
It's called that machine.
Yeah, what do they call it?
It's a Zamboni.
Yeah, Zamboni. That's it.
Zamboni comes out and with a heated propane-fired burner cooks the surface,
cooking that sucker,
melting this ice and turning it back into ice again when they leave it. When they leave it, it refreezes because there's refrigerant coolant, going all the way around and back and forth under the ice. And that refrigerant is ammonia, whatever. It's a liquid ammonia refrigerant, and it chills that and freezes it. So what we're doing with stone is we're dissolving the calcium and then redepositing it into the little porous nicks and areas that makes it dull. It densifies the marble as well, creating a less likelihood that material can soak into it. So
I'm looking down at it. Somebody's got a question mark. They're asking Billy again. Says, what makes black and green stone the most challenging to polish?
Serpentine, black and green, and also ebony, a black and white marble.
What about Carrara, though? That's white. Isn't that hard to polish?
Yeah, Carrara is kind of hard, too. It's because there's a crystalline formation that makes it a little less than the other values. there's also certain mineral content that makes it a challenge.
Mm.
So yeah, serpentine green, black and white. I can't remember what they call that. There's a name for that. I'm not really big into knowing the exact name of it. It's called calcium. Calcium. It doesn't matter what variety it is. I like dark forest. If you've ever seen it, our next class should have a beautiful array of gorgeous stones so we can show people.
That would be cool, Mark. Yeah, some
You
of the
don't wanna be
prettiest
afraid
stone.
of- You don't want to be afraid of stone. The
Yeah.
only reason we're afraid of something is we don't know what to do with it.
Has there ever been a stone, Mark, that really just really was extremely difficult, or you couldn't get it polished the way you wanted to?
Yeah, the blacks and the serpentine green.
Wow.
You've got to switch and experiment with the diamond media, with the pressure. You mess with the RPM. You do it dry first, and then use it wet. And then when you think you've got it to about 800 or 1,000 grit shine, then you switch completely over to the recrystallizing, and it's a lot easier than just trying to use media to do it, like dip pads or resin bond pads. So, yeah.
So you're saying finish it off with dip pads?
No, because a dip pad isn't always the way to finish it, because
You're saying crystallize it.
I'll recrystallize last, but I won't use a typical recrystallizer. Recrystallizers typically and historically use steel wool and a spray that has oxalic acid and some other secret chemicals.
I think I saw that. Did they do that in Vegas?
They did for many, many, many years, but the Stone Council of America, there's been many people that just say, because it's costly, in time over chronic recrystallizing, it intensifies and densifies the surface so bad that it spalls itself.
Yeah,
it destroys its own self on the surface only, not from the bottom up, but just on the surface. And they go. So if you've done it for a long time, you can diamond hone it down a degree, which is.
I was wondering if you could fix that some. Yeah.
Yeah, but they can't afford to. Not because they don't have money. They can't afford to close off an area that's.
Oh yeah.
Remember, it's a city that never sleeps.
Yeah,
24 hours a day. I have clients. I have people making us money. We can't cordon off a whole section. When they install new carpet or new tile in those resort casinos, they do it in one night at the slowest time of the night. Crews come in there with like 24 men, and they rip stuff out and reinstall it almost overnight.
That's pretty
they
insane.
Can't afford
to
block areas where thousands of people want to walk to get to the next.
Hey, Mark, Billy's asking, are you talking about like Rhino crystallizer?
Like what?
Rhino crystallizer.
Rhino is just a brand. I since I've left the recrystallizer world and done my own kind of this thing here, I'm not there anymore. So I use a 3,500 grit diamond pad, not steel wool, because diamonds will remove. So there's a certain amount of loss and attrition, which I want to have happen. And then we use the oxalate. It's a granule, and an unscented, odorless ammonia, and we buff till it's gone, till there's no slurry involved. There's nothing to clean up, mop up, or squeegee up. It's kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm.
We should teach people that.
That's what we're going to do in the class. Matter of fact, Mark, we need to get back up with our gentleman whenever you're ready. He's ready.
Okay, I just got to find a way to break away. We'll talk later after this and try to figure out when we can do it.
We want to announce that in a class one day. I mean, in one of these podcasts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I've got 100 people been waiting for that class, and everyone's.
I hear you. So
you're all talk. Where's the class?
There's the hint, everyone. There is a class coming up, so watch out for it. Mark and I'll be doing. All right, Mark. Look, Mark, I'm going to go ahead and close this off. It is 9:53 over here. It's almost 10 o'clock. We've gone on for quite a bit of ways.
It's only 8 o'clock, man.
I know. Well, you guys don't. Your time stays the same all year round, right?
Yeah, we never set our clocks up or back ever.
You don't fall forward, fall back.
There's a rumor out there that they're thinking about, which is the smartest move they can ever do. You guys should go on the internet and find out what started daylight savings time. Where did this?
Just like I said at the beginning of this video, what started April Fools? It was Pope Gregory in the 1500s. So same thing. And Mark, and they also had 28 days in the month.
In the calendar
and you had 13 months. And they also took ether out of the. Anyway, we want to we digress. You know, Mark, we should do a conspiracy theory podcast. At least a
lose
couple of them.
everybody.
Interject them. It'd be hilarious. What'd you say?
They'll put a hit on us after we do.
Ouch. Ouch. We won't go that deep. You know, that's too funny.
They are talking about it. I don't know if the new administration is going to actually pull the switch on it of eliminating daylight savings time. The whole country's on one time.
They should for sure.
Go look it up, guys, on the internet. What is the origin of daylight savings time?
I won't give it away either then.
Dang, that is dumb. Why are we still doing that? We don't need the reason back then it made sense. Right now it makes 0 sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, I appreciate everybody's attendance here. Remember, this will be on Spotify. This will be on YouTube. We'll be putting out on a news blast, on a text blast, email blast. It'll also be hopefully on Instagram. Portions of it will be on TikTok. So hope everybody enjoys this podcast every Wednesday night around 8 o'clock Eastern time. We may end up moving it to another day of the week, but as of right now, we're getting pretty good participation. But we may be leaning towards the weekend, but I don't know how Mark feels about giving up his weekends, but we'll see how that rolls out on us.
Oh, no, I'll do it Saturday. Saturday.
What's that?
Saturday, no Sundays.
Saturday or Sundays?
No Sundays.
Yeah, no Sundays. Hey, look up guess who changed over from the Saturday to the Sunday as the Sabbath day? Worshiping the sun. There's your hint. I won't give you no more. All right, I'm done. Thanks, Mark. Have yourself a great night.
I'm going to have some malic acid for a treat.
You shouldn't be eating that junk, man.
I know.
It rot your teeth out. All right, everybody. Have yourself a great night. I'm Rob Allen with TruckMountForums, and we appreciate Mark chiming in here and helping us out. Thanks a lot, and have a great night.
Good night.
Take care, Mark.